Hello everyone, welcome back to another 1/6 scale figure review. Today is finally my review on the InArt Paul Atreides from Dune Part 1. This was a really fantastic film. I'm a massive fan of Frank Herbert's books, not just his Dune work, but his other work as well. And I think this was a great interpretation of his books in film. And much like the film, this figure is also a great representation of Timothée Chalamet as Paul Atreides. And the box art is really nice. So I thought I'd just throw that in as well. I'm not going to go through everything because I feel like it has been a few months until I got mine in hand. So at this point, everyone has pretty much reviewed it. But I will just quickly go through, do a little showcase of the figure itself, show the rooted hair, because I think that's by far, the main marketing point of InArt's products. And yeah, talk about the film, talk about part 2, and Prophecy. At this point, I feel, Prophecy's been out for a while, and it does set up quite a bit in terms of Dune Messiah. And obviously the, subtle hints, especially if you've read the books and know what's going on in this world. And I might do some side-by-side comparisons because I do have Vader there just off screen. And Vader is pretty much heavily inspired by Paul. And going by what Denis Villeneuve has said, that he does want to adapt as accurately as he can to part 3, I'm pretty sure at that point you would see that Vader comparison. So yeah, what I'm going to do is zoom in closer to the head sculpt, take him off the magnetic base, and just go a little bit further into the details of the head sculpt and the rooted hair. And maybe talk about some problem that I did experience with this guy. I did unbox this yesterday just to see if everything was intact, and there was some issue that I came across. So I'll quickly go through that. But yeah, hopefully in the future this guy's just smooth sailings. So I got the head sculpt pretty close up here. And I think the rooting hair is really good. I think InArt have gone better and better with their rooting hair technique. I mean, you can't even really see glue on the forehead at all. There's nothing there to indicate where the hell they've just glued this piece on. It's really amazing, honestly. And I'll spin all the way around. There is a little bit of hindrance with the hoodie, as it does kind of dig up into the rooted hair. It's kind of unavoidable, but it's not too big of a deal. I mean, he is in the desert, so he is, in Arrakis, so I don't expect, perfectly tamed hair and all that. But, speaking of the hoodie, what I did come across when I unboxed him, obviously he doesn't come attached with the head, and the hoodie's kind of shriveled up in the box, but there was some weird residue feeling. It almost feels like it was built up in shipping containers for how long this was boxed up. And I don't know if you can see it just there, but there's some really weird residue, and it's not the rooted hair product because it's boxed separately. But it's almost got a weird papery fabric material, and I have a feeling that this is probably not going to do well posing. because it might stick and bunch together. And I think that's what's happened when it was boxed up for all these months. It boxed up and it kind of glued together, and it made a really, really weird peeling sound, like it was tearing. So I'm probably just going to keep the suit like this, just for fear of it breaking up and kind of gluing to itself. But yeah, going down to the crysknife. Really, really sick detailing here. It's not die-cast, it is plastic, but I'm fine with that. This is supposed to be the sandworm's tooth. So, not really expecting die-cast from that, so no problems there. I do, however, have to fix these. You know, in the first movie, it is pretty prominent scene that he knows how to wear his stillsuit and correctly put on this on the top of his boots, so I do have to fix this. But yeah, I really, really like the stillsuit texturing that InArt have done. I have seen the Og Toys one, a few reviews of that guy. I think that stillsuit looks pretty good too, and I honestly feel like picking that up and getting a custom Rebecca Ferguson head sculpt to have companioned with Paul here. You know, I have seen, I think it was a while back ago that InArt done a poll, I think, of who out of all the Dune supporting characters would they want with Paul. And obviously people went for Shani, played by Zendaya, which is fine, but I personally prefer Lady Jessica. And I don't want to really go into spoilers, but if you have seen like Dune Prophecy or read the rest of the Dune books, Shani's not the main character. She doesn't really have a prominent role in the story itself. So personally, I would have Paul's mum over Shani, but that's just my opinion, I guess. And yeah, just going into the head sculpt again, I really would have liked if InArt done swap out eyes to have the eyes of Ibad, the blue eyes from the side effect of, you know, living in the desert of Arrakis. But, you know, it's a shifty technique for them to do a part 2 or Dune Messiah look with the eyes of Ibad, similar to the Sith eyes with Anakin that Hot Toys did. They did the 2 dark side variants. But yeah, I'm really, really interested to see what they do with Messiah. Reading the second book, there is quite a shift in tone and honestly who you're rooting for as character-wise. You know, I think even Paul in the end of the second part 2 film, you know, his final words in the film, like, let them have peace, and they all go off and like spread the jihad and all that, like, it gives an eerie feeling, and I wonder if audiences will kind of take the sequel well, you know, because I think most people are thinking this is going to go like the Star Wars route, but it's pretty much the opposite, or I wouldn't say the opposite, but you know, it's definitely not space opera-y. But yeah, there's a lot of weird shit in Dune. One 6 scale God Emperor. That would be insane. I don't even know if they're going to go that far into the franchise, to be honest. Even though the God Emperor is pretty much my favourite character, he's an absolute tyrant, but Just some of the quotes he says is just so outlandish. Him and another character. I'm not going to spoil the other character. However, this character is going to appear in Messiah. So, that's also going to be pretty interesting. Oh yeah, actually, they did hint Aaliyah in part 2, which she should have been already a child at that point, but I wonder if they do an Anya Taylor-Joy Aaliyah to partner up with Paul here. Or even if they do Messiah merch. Because obviously this is from the first movie. And from what we know so far, they haven't really had an interest doing anything from the sequels or even other characters, which is a shame. Because I think InArt should at least give someone else to partner him up with. And just panning down to the display base. Obviously this is InArt, so this is the magnetized base, which I still to this day have not had an issue with any of the magnetized bases from InArt. I have both of the Jokers. I have the Batman, the Pennywise, Paul here. And do I have any other figures from InArt? I think that's it. From the top of my head. And then I have a boatload of caustic plastic figures with magnetized bases. I do have some custom stuff with magnetized bases too. I've never had really an issue with them. And I think maybe, I don't know, it could be user error. I feel that a lot of people aren't posing them properly and bending the knees and the upper torso in a certain way to counterbalance everything. You know, I've seen a lot of people have really poor articulated skills when it comes to their figures, and they're on the crotch stands just like leaning forward or not like flat on the base. And I think the best way to kind of have him displayed safely on the base is pose him off the stand flat, see if he balances on a rough natural surface, then chuck him on this. Because the magnetized part, it shouldn't really be doing the heavy lifting. The balance of the figure itself should be doing that. The magnetized part is kind of just extra support. And while I'm down here, I'll look at the exclusive part, which is Muad'Dib, the sand mouse, which is actually really, really nice texturing and detail. You know, even the CGI mouse in the film looked really, really good. And they translated it well in figure format. And yeah, I love little companion pieces like this. I mean, this is so far the only companion piece you're getting with Paul. But yeah, I love when companies give little like characters or little companion animal pieces. Especially when they do it right. Like the Ripley figure I have from Hot Toys up there, Jonesy isn't, you know, the best. But, you know, it's fine. But yeah, I was going to pose him. I did want to do the crysknife up on his forehead when he fights Jamis in the part 1. But it's not really the most flush looking. You know, there's some poses that don't look really great with figures, no matter how much you try and spend time on it. It just looks really unnatural in my opinion. And also, taking him out the box and having that weird gluing, crumpling, sticky shit that happened, I'm kind of nervous of having this bent for so long, because I think it is like a screen printed fabric material, similar to like a Hot Toys superhero suit. So it's not 100% fabric. It does have a little bit of like screen printing enhancements on it, which does look good, but it kind of kills the posability. Or you know what, maybe I will do something with the pose. This does look nice and stoic. It kind of reminds me of the Primon statue that came out a few years ago. Or I think it's out. But yeah, maybe I'll do the bent pose with the knife kind of next to his cheekbone. So I'll put Paul in a different pose. But yeah, like I said before, the articulation is fine. It's just, doing stuff like this just doesn't look the most form-fitting or natural. Kind of looks weird in a pose like this, so I might go back to just a neutral holding the crysknife to his side instead of like this. Just the thickness of the suit and that is not the best articulating. But what I do have next to Paul is Vader from Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, by Hot Toys. This is a custom Cali Studios replacement suit and cape. So everything here is real leather appliance, real leather boots, the flight suit slash respirator suit is all leather. The cape is single plied, really nice texturing, real metal chain. Yeah, really sick, this one. And I think that's pretty much the ultimate Vader for me. Don't really have a need to buy any of the other ones. And personally, Episode 6 is right up there as my favourite Star Wars film. Obviously with Empire. If you're someone like me who doesn't really dive that deep into like buying a shitload of Star Wars characters, or kind of just gets like the main characters, I can see this fitting well in the collection. One has inspired the other. And also, you could say that with both ways with the films as well, because I do think the Star Wars aesthetic really fits well with the Dune aesthetic world, even though Dune inspired Star Wars. Does that really make sense? Like the film translation? Yeah, I don't know if that made sense, but these two standing side by side, Vader is still a giant compared to Paul, even though he is elevated with that base. This is kind of just like a custom acrylic base that I had. Wasn't really a fan of either of the stair diorama or that big platform circle base that Hot Toys gave for him. And I do have Vader with Luke, so I felt it was a bit too towering to have them two side by side with that big base. Oh yeah, speaking of Vader's size, this Vader is apparently in figure format going to be bigger than that Jungle Hunter 2.0 that they just released, which is going to be just fucking stupid. Surely Hot Toys fix that. If they don't, that's going to be an interesting review for me. I'm not really the biggest fan of like grumpy reviewing, but that might be one of my most disappointing reviews if they don't fix anything from that guy. Since the Back to the Future stuff that they did with Doc. But yeah, hopefully Hot Toys fix that, because most of the shit that they put up that look a bit janky, they do fix. And I think there was enough voices in the community to, give their helpful opinion that change that for the better. Oh yeah, and Vader's holding Luke's saber, because I did have the pose of Luke handcuffed, which maybe I might change. Have them both holding lightsabers, considering they're only two Star Wars characters I have in my collection. I was interested in the artist in Anakin, just because I think Anakin as Anakin, not Vader, maybe suits better to go next to Paul. But I'm not the biggest fan of the prequels, so I kind of had to ground myself and go, well, I collect shit that I enjoy, not just anything. So yeah, I pretty much skipped on both artists and Anakin's, even though I think I did have them on Sideshow waitlist. Yeah, they converted, and the waitlist converted, and I just decided not to get him. A lot of people might be screaming about that, but especially with that price point he's going for now, holy shit. But again, not the biggest fan of the prequels, so I just thought, yeah, I'll give it to someone that truly enjoys those films. But Hayden's great as, a young Anakin. Nothing against him. It was just more the writing of those films. Which, speaking of Dune, the prequels kind of feel more like Dune than the original trilogy. Especially the whole political aspects of those first three films. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for today. Customs in the future, I do have this just delivered, which is, it looks like a clump of shit, but it is the rooted hair third-party custom for John Wick figures. So for the new John Wick, I'm going to try that out in the next video, see how that goes. Because the photos I've seen from people like Bob Dylan, and also like the advertisement on 1/6 Kit, it looks pretty promising, and it looks like a really, really good replacement part. Cheeky plug to my Instagram, I'll pop up now, because I am currently in the works of doing a custom Alan Ripley from Aliens 1986, the sequel. I think it's time to finally get a decent one. I do have the present toys up there. That was kind of a filler figure for the time being. But yeah, I think now's the perfect time to get that custom. And yeah, I've been working on that for a few months. I think like the start of last year, I was planning on, trying to find the best components and build an actual decent Ripley from the second film. I think the first one from Hot Toys from 79 is fine. Is a bit outdated, maybe it needs a repaint. But I'm holding out because I do feel that they might make a 2.0 artisan of that. And that would be awesome. More alien shit is good. Oh yeah, and Alien Earth is coming out as well pretty soon, so that's going to be really, really exciting. Just a resurgence of these classic sci-fi is, it makes me happy. Predator's kind of back, Alien's back, we're getting more Dune shit. Star Wars, well, actually Star Wars is a little bit in a positive direction, because Andor was fairly well received. Haven't watched it, don't really care about Andor or Rogue One. But from what I've heard, it's up there as some of the best Star Wars content, so that's positive. But yeah, I've got a few customs in the work. Some reviews. I think Trick or Treat Studios have released their Billy from Saw. Hopefully mine comes pretty soon. I might do a quick review on that, because that is a pretty statuesque piece. But I'm a massive horror fan and I had to get that guy. And yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else on the way. I think the Terminator 2.0s from Judgment Day by Hot Toys might be coming out soon, I think. I think they're next on the list as the Hot Toy figures that I've personally pre-ordered. And for InArt related stuff, personally has been pretty slow for me actually. I think this is the last InArt piece for a while that I'm going to get my hands on. I just haven't been interested in any of the other properties they've done. Lord of the Rings is great, but personally I would only get Aragorn and Gandalf. Harry Potter, enjoyed Harry Potter as a kid, but I'm just not a fan of Rowling. And what else have InArt done? That's not supposed to be a joke. What else have they actually... Oh, they've done some Wukong stuff, which does look awesome, just not a game collector, I guess. So yeah, hopefully they make something that, you know, makes me want to pre-order their shit, because I do enjoy their figures, and this is a great representation of how good their pieces can be. And that's pretty much it for today. If you guys did enjoy this, make sure you like and sub. And I'll see you in the next one.